I hope I can live up to those. So, so hi folks, my name is Paresh Motiwala. I can give you a brief introduction about what I'm going to talk about, and then I will share my screen. Give me a second. So, the topic today is cloud data management. Okay, it's a topic I haven't heard anybody talk about in the past several years that I have been talking. I've done about 200 presentations at various events, but this is great. So, because the cloud gives us so much, flexibility, variety, cost savings, professional management of whatever you're holding, right? Uh, it is extremely crucial for us to have this as a strategy, as against just something that, okay, we went to cloud, end of story, we checked off one more box on our resume. No, you don't want to do that, right? So, uh, what is the key to an effective cloud data management is in the data integration part of it and the holistic data governance part of it. So everything that you have in cloud can be as efficient as what you have on premises and little more. But if it is governed properly, it can be awesome. A lot of companies are now offering either as a service or a product that can actually help you get through that initiative. Uh, Feel free to ask any questions midstream. I don't bite back. And I have to share my screen now, which is going to be this one here. Is the correct screen now?
Yes, sir. I can see it.
Cool. So, uh, my name is Paresh Motiwala. I have been speaking at database events for several years now. And actually, it's the first time I'm not involved in the running of the event, which is kind of good break for me. And otherwise, Global Azure Data Fest, I've been working with Microsoft guys to bring that over, market it, plan for it, food, everything that used to happen. I'm currently working at a company called Navisite, which is a private data platform supporting organization. So you need a temporary DBA or you need some DBA hours per month, but not a full-time DBA, come to us. If you need a full-time DBA, come to us. If you need some good development activities, come to us. So that's what Navisite is. It used to be originally also called as Remote DBA experts or remote database experts. So RDA is what they used to be called, RDX actually. Um, I also volunteer big time for the organization called PASS, which is the Professional Association of SQL Server. Their annual summit is totally virtual this year. So instead of $2,200, now it costs you $599. But I can help you save 50 more bucks if you can use this discount code. I get this discount code because I run the Boston Business Intelligence user group, and you can actually register at pass.org summit 2020 registration.aspx. But please definitely use this discount code. So let's get on. This is my contact information. This will also be repeated again towards the end of the presentation. So feel free to go ahead and reach out to me in any shape or form. I'll really appreciate a quick tweet if you liked it. If you didn't like it, also tweet about it. That is what makes me a much better speaker. I've spoken at about 200 of events or sessions, user groups, and so on. My LinkedIn is here. Let me know how you met me and where you met me. Otherwise, I will not accept your invite. My Gmail address is given here. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I also, this is not the only thing I do, but I also lead the Boston BI chapter. Actually, I own it with Nitesh. And I also have the PASS DBA virtual chapter, PASS Professional Development virtual chapter, and the New England SQL Server user group, which is based out of Boston. New England SQL Server user group is actually, believe it or not, one of the oldest SQL Server user groups in anywhere in the world, actually. Whereas Boston BI in Boston has 3,200 members, which is the largest Microsoft-based user group you will see. Happy to be running and being part of all of these. I also organize SQL Saturdays, Azure Data Fest, oops, not this one, and then Boston Code Camp, Modern Data Tour, and whole bunch of other things. I speak at a lot of these events. I'm a regular speaker. My next speaking engagement is actually coming up this Tuesday during the lunch break, and then I'm also speaking at the SQL Saturday Albany, and then this Saturday I'm speaking at SQL Saturday Peru. I mentor data pros in becoming good speakers, and even budding speakers, for example, they don't know much about databases, but they want to come and speak in front of people. I teach them. I also teach public speaking to children, grown-ups, and so on. I'm a official public speaking coach in this area. If you actually Google public speaking, possibly my name will come up there in the New England area. I'm also a moonlighting photographer and singer. So no, I'm not singing today. Don't worry about it. So as we said, it's changing the way people are doing the business and thinking about business. We already spoke about this slide. So let's go ahead and start with what we're going to do today, right? So we'll have an introduction to CDM, which we kind of had, what it is. Why is there a big sound here in the background? Is that my headphone? No, there's somebody else's.
No.
Okay, cool. So we'll have some introduction to the CDM, or the cloud data management. We'll see what are the benefits and challenges to CDM, okay? I can say, what sort of bribe can we give people to say, what can possibly be a challenge to a data initiative within the organization? Can somebody just quickly respond over here? I'll really appreciate that. The politics of the organization is actually one of the challenges, but we'll also talk about what the heck that is, right? I mean, that is something that really kills a lot of initiatives that you have within the organization. So we'll talk about it also. Team for CDM. How do you select a team, right? Because right now you are the only data professional in the organization, and suddenly you heard a big word called cloud data management, and you have no freaking idea how to go about doing it. So you want to really approach this as a project, and therefore you want to include all the possible stakeholders so that they will make this thing a success. Then hiring and training for CDM, right? Because what is the CDM? This is just because what is called as a airplane effect. I don't know if any of you are aware of this airplane effect, but just because there is an airplane effect, it's kind of very dicey that people have to jump into all hoops because of this particular thing that just happened, that one of your CIOs or COOs or CFOs was traveling in the plane, and in one of those magazines he read the word cloud data management or CDM, and then he makes the whole company run after it. So how would you actually go about hiring people for this kind of role? What are the best practices that are involved with cloud data management? If you don't ask me questions, this can get over pretty quick. So just to let you know. And then what's next? You want to talk about it, right? So this is the same thing that we had asked when we spoke about the cloud about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm going to ask you the same question. Where else do you think we'll go immediately after this, right? Okay. And then we should not be doing this right now. And okay. The intro to cloud, right? CDM. So practice of storing this, I've just taken this verbatim. You'll almost never see too many words in my slides, but for this one, because there's a definition. So cloud data management is the practice of storing a company's data on an offsite server, usually in the cloud, right? That is typically owned and overseen by a vendor who specializes in cloud data hosting. Okay, so there'll be a quick quiz at the end of the presentation, and I want you to all memorize this completely for me in the evening or at the conclusion of this. So do you feel, so there was a survey that was carried out, right? And based on some 108 respondents, do you know what CDM is and what it does? Apparently one out of 5 people did not know what the heck it is. So if you are one of them, then welcome to the club. You are absolutely in the right place today, and I hope you take something back with you. to your management and say, guys, I know we are in the cloud, but are we really in the cloud? Or we just have some stuff in the cloud and we are trying to check off our box in the resume. So, so cloud benefits and little more than that, right? So we'll go through that now, correct? So security, okay, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Gone are the days when your CIO would feel very comfortable having your data on-prem only. How stupid is that? Because they had never seen cloud. They never actually bothered to investigate what a cloud is. So they thought, no, in-house is good. This is approximately 2013 in Boston when we had like a torrential rain and one of our principal data centers was flooded. I mean, seriously flooded all the way to the ceiling. Okay. And I was in a concert at the time and I had nothing to do but glad to join the conference call over there. And the point about the security being that you think you are secure because it's something that you can see and touch and feel, that's not true any longer. So it was completely, we had to wipe out. It took us almost 12 hours, unfortunately, because the cables were also underwater. We could not effectively switch anything over to the disaster recovery center, which was in Colorado. So what we had to do was somebody had to manually start flipping over. Yes, the replication, etc., was complete, which was kind of cool, but a lot of the Active Directory components had not switched over. We ran into a lot of problems. So security, main thing, and that it's a physical area. Somebody can definitely go in and create a havoc. As it has happened, I have myself stepped over a couple of cables when we used to have our data center within our own building. So watch out for that. So security, definitely one of the biggest things of a cloud data management thing, right? The second thing that you want to talk about is scalability and savings, right? So scalable, right? The two parts of scalability, right? And if you know what I'm talking about, scalability goes both horizontally and vertically. So you can scale up and scale out. So what does scale out mean? For example, if you have something like Azure Data Warehouse or Snowflake, for example, as a cloud data warehouse, you don't need to scale up. You just scale out. What does Snowflake do, for example, or Azure Data Warehouse do? Oh, you want 40 nodes to do some complex calculations and voluminous calculations. I will create those 40 nodes on the fly for you. Once the computation is over, I'll crush them back and bring you back the results only through that one single node or two nodes that you already have. So that is called scaling out. You can actually do that. Whereas scaling up is basically you can actually add more memory on the fly, more CPU. I've yet to come across a place where you can actually scale up without having to stop your SQL server. Like if you wanted to add more security, you couldn't do it. You wanted to add more memory, you couldn't do it. Yes, you could do it only after you can stop the SQL server or any other server for that, right? Savings. Again, what do you do with your QA servers after 5 p.m.? Guess what? Nothing, but you are still paying for it. Whereas in the cloud, you can actually have a lot of savings because you can now go ahead and put it off. And you really should put it off, okay? Otherwise, I was just talking about this in the previous session, how in the first month of our venturing into the cloud, we ended up with a bill of approximately $5 million because developers created VMs like, with 64 cores, left, right, and center. Oh, this is just a test server, so we don't really have to pay for it. No, you have to pay because Microsoft is looking for your money all the time, right? So if you create and you don't destroy it, you're screwed. And it can be definitely for the person who is running this initiative, it can very well become a resume regenerating event is what I call, okay? So just watch out for that. It's a lot of savings possible, but then along with the savings come a lot of costs also. So watch out for that. We'll talk about that also. We'll also talk about the governed access, right? For example, what is the governed access that we are talking about? So if you look at the 11 or 12 principles of security: physical security, logical security, electronic security, and a whole bunch of things. And almost to the end of the object level security, you can get a much better governed access in the cloud than you can get for something on-prem. So we'll talk about that also. Automated backups and DR. So that's the next thing, right? Gone are the days when DBAs had to write a backup plan where they would actually go ahead and back up the databases to some remote area. And guess what happened later, right? It did not always pan out. Somebody created a new database and that database never got backed up. So you had to use somebody like awesome scripts from Ola, Hellengren, and so on. So definitely watch out for those things, okay? 1 second. I'm not running away, don't worry, I'm here. Okay, and DR, automatically the DR happens. You really want to watch out for this feature of your cloud, because if the eastern region in Azure goes down, you can actually automatically have it fail over to the central or the western region, whatever is convenient for you. So definitely you want to capitalize on that. Okay, improve data quality. When we say improve data quality, what am I really saying here? Because can't you do that in the on the prem also? But remember, now on-prem, you usually don't end up getting stuff from streaming analytics and so on. You have to actually end up downloading everything. Then, because downloading is a IO intensive activity, cleaning it is an IO intensive activity, and then storing it again onto a hard drive is a IO intensive application. So it will take you a long time, as a result of which, whenever you are doing the ETL process, it is fairly time consuming. Whereas what you can do with big data level data is that you can actually run the ELT, or you first load and then transform, which is kind of cool, because now you can actually just take everything down. Once it is available in a specific location, you can go ahead and do it much faster in the cloud, then bringing it down to prem, and then do whatever you want to do with it. So just watch out for that. It's definitely going to help you a lot. There is a whole bunch of white paper that I will share with you at the end of it. So let's do this. Then automated updates, right? It's something that I wanted to share with you. Automated updates for your, I'm concentrating mainly on the database side of it right now, but if you look at it, the SQL Server automatically gets patched and you will never even know. You don't have to worry about the downtime. You don't have to worry about calling the user and letting them know, oh, today your system is going to be down because your server is getting patched. That happens only when you are doing this in the prem or on the prem servers only. Then one more thing. Often when you are doing your updates, you have to wait for the patching cycle, which is the biggest bummer in any initiative that you have, because almost everywhere that I worked, you could only do patching on production servers once in 2 months, which means that any critical updates that had to be put in, you had to go through an act of Congress to actually make it happen. So watch out. And then sustainability, right? I mean, how often do you find that you are still using a server that is 5 years old or 10 years old? No good. So can you go ahead? Can you keep on maintaining? Because your data is always going to grow. Your data is never going to shrink. Otherwise, you're in the wrong company. So you may actually want to look for a different job if your data is not growing with you and your company. Okay, so when the data grows, your needs for storage, your needs for compute, everything and its maintenance grows, and that you can achieve only through cloud. So, okay, so let's start with the challenges. What are the challenges that we face, right? Okay. Refusal to change. How many of you have faced this problem in your company? That you're doing something nice for the company, or at least you think you're doing something nice for the company, and somebody just gets up and says, sorry, we have never done this before, so we are not interested. Yeah. So somebody actually had a question. We can address that a little later on that. Cool. So refusal to change, one of the biggest challenges that you will face. And then immediately after that would be the airplane effect. This is one of the things that I spoke about 10 minutes back, was the airplane effect. Is when the C-level officer is actually going in a flight somewhere, and then he picks up one of those magazines and he picks up this word, and people adopt to it with a lot of grudge. Okay, they will not like it. Oh, what the hell is he talking about? Just because he read it somewhere, he's now making the whole company run for it. The usual problem is that when they read something like this, they just want it to be implemented, not that you want to go ahead and analyze it. If it is a good thing to have, is it a bad thing to have? What are the cost implications? No, I just saw that, make it happen. Oh, wait, this one thing that he can actually check off in his resume. And that's one of the biggest challenges you will come across. Then who bells the cat? Okay, so how do you handle this situation? So who are you going to tell that, hey guys, now we are going to have a data management department or initiative, which means that I will be the boss, not you. So you just can't do everything. It's very difficult to tell the users. And I can tell you this from a lot of personal experience, that I was working at a government organization and I was a new DBA, okay? Brand new spanking DBA. I was like literally one day into the organization, and I wanted to log into the servers to find out what is going on, what versions are they running, what service pack levels they are doing, what is the strength of the SA password, and so on. Guess what? They did not let me have that SA password because you are new and we don't trust you yet. Why? Because refusal to change. And who bells the cat? Who will let them know that this is a new initiative and that you better start complying? I got my SA password after approximately 2 months. What they did not know is that in SQL 2005, if you are a local admin on the box, you are automatically an SA. So I didn't have to make too much noise, but I still did. So when it comes to talking to the users, you really want to do this and tell them this is what is coming down the pike. You want to raise proper awareness, educate them, and get their buy-in, which will come when we talk about how to select a team for cloud data management initiative. So good news in the cloud is that it all happens magically. You don't really have to do much about it, right? You just say that, okay, this is there now, you don't have to worry, and nobody has to worry except a couple of people who are looking after the cost, and some people who are doing development are the people who have to look after it properly, but otherwise it's all behind the things. And this is one of the things that actually scares the hell out of end users. What do you mean it all happens? And that is the challenge that they will face. You mean you have no control over this? That is the first question, and that is when they will go back to point number one. You can't actually touch the server. I don't know how secure it is going to be. So watch out for that. Dollars, right? This is one of the things I already spoke to you about when we ran into a $5 million bill in the first month, and because we found out that we had hundreds of high-powered VMs that were created and never shut down at the end of the day, or even whenever they were not needed. So we then created a policy around who needs those VMs, and if they need those VMs, what process do they have to go through? And we ask them, if it is a QA environment, then if there is no activity, we will shut it off after 2 hours of no use. You can always power it back on and then start working on it. But help us help you, so to speak. So $, is one of the biggest challenge. Yes, it sounds awesome. Microsoft is very happy to have you in the cloud because they really want your money, and why not, right? But the thing is that if you are watchful, then the long-term effects are low. Otherwise, you will end up having a lot of bills. So just watch out for that. So startup is easy. Long-term can cost you more. Watch out for that. Sleepless in Seattle, right? I mean, this is one of the things that you want to. You're always worried about what will happen. Why is this data not in my control? That's when all the users will start trying to find problems with your thing. Hey, you know what? Compared to the application that was running in the server that was on-prem, this is slower, And I'm like, and when you ask them, and this is one of the things that is something you want to carry home with you, is whenever you have this kind of initiative, make sure that you have a proper benchmarking of all your applications to start and when you change over. Because the first thing, I'll tell you 100% of the time, the first thing that you will hear from your customers is that it is slow. So, and then, you know what, I want to do this. Who should I approach? I don't know this anymore because we had two people who were looking after security. One guy was looking after databases. He's gone, so now I have to wait for the developers and blah, blah, blah. So they will be pretty sleepless. You don't want to let that happen. Okay. This is the other one, which is the biggest one, which is the challenge that yes, you can have cloud data management, but without the data in the cloud, you really can't have a cloud data management. So what has to happen is that your entire application suite, or at least the data component of it, has to have been migrated to the cloud first. Okay. And till that happens, that is the necessary condition for you to go to the cloud data management as an initiative, because unless you have the data in the cloud, so migrations is the first thing you want to really worry about it, and that is one of the biggest challenges that you will have. And migrations to the cloud, I have a full 75-minute talk about this. Whenever you want to listen to it, let me know and we will take it from there, right? Cool. What about you? Are you ready for managing data in the cloud, right? Are you okay with it? Do you think that your job is going to go away because now backups are not happening, for example, and DBAs are worried, oh shit, what am I going to do with it? No, actually, DBAs can do a lot more. Now they can actually learn about PowerShell. They can learn about Presto as a query language. Actually, I think there is a session by Theo a little later today on Presto language. How do you monitor your Azure or your cloud resources, and you need knowledge of Presto language. So are you evolving with the cloud? And you yourself can be one of the biggest challenge to this particular project. So please keep an open mind, go towards cloud mentality from day one, and you will live a very big, long, happy life. Good. Let me continue, right? Then the politics of organization. I literally have nothing over here. You almost 100% know what I'm talking about. So dealing with the politics of the organization while going to cloud is immense. So the law firm that I was working on, that is the first time, I think it was in about 2012 or 13 that I heard of Azure as a cloud offering. And I asked my boss, can we move some of our lower regions to the cloud? And she said, no, we are a law firm and we can definitely not have anything in the cloud. My boss was very knowledgeable, I promise you that. But everybody else within the organization, especially the lawyers who are not technical and who get flustered even when they have to press F1 button to ask for help, they were the problem. So the business users are a problem. You will have to learn to deal with them. And if your knowledge and your conviction on this one is strong, you should be able to win that battle, and politics of the organization will not matter. That is why when you select the team for the cloud data management project, you want to make sure that you have basically, so to say, brown-nosed your way through the right stakeholders. Okay, and we'll talk about it later. So cloud data, right? How do you go about collecting a team for yourself? Let me see, team for the CDM. So first collect a data team, right? Somebody here with knowledge of multiple scripting language, for example, and then somebody who has DBA experience, somebody who is a good developer. Mind you, don't think of cloud data management project as just something that you are doing lift and shift. Okay, otherwise what you are doing is essentially just checking off a box on your resume. Yeah, I moved to the cloud, but essentially your application still is sucky, and you will pay much higher price in the cloud because the compute cost is much higher for a poorly written query. So have a very comprehensive data team who can actually stand between you and your organizational collapse. Okay, get somebody from the users to come and join this team so that they are aware what is going on. Suddenly you don't want to come in at a point and you will find out, oh shit, you know what, we never involved this user. And then going back to the previous slide, right, politics of the organization starts playing out. In this law firm that I was talking to you about, we had one of the managers of the end users application, um, controller, so to speak. He participated in every single meeting of Windows 7 upgrade for the desktop. Okay, every single minutes of the meetings he signed off. Then when the day of the migration came, he is the guy who stood up and said, you know what, we are migrating to Windows 7. I never knew about this. And despite having been a part of all the meetings where they had seen this happen, they chose to become the uh, what do you call, the hindrance to the project. So users, you want to involve them, ask them meaningful questions. Finance is the team you don't want to forget because they are the people who are going to be writing the check. They want to understand how they are going to write the check. They want to know how they are going to end up paying for it, right? And what are they really paying for? That is what, so a good project manager would always include all stakeholders, the ones I have mentioned here. If you come across anything else, feel free to put it in a chat and I will include it over here next time around. Have a strong project manager, okay? One who knows the politics of the organization, one who knows all the stakeholders, right? So if you are a database guy and also want to act as a project manager, believe me, don't. All I can say is don't do that. You will not do very well. Have one of those line managers too, right? So line managers means somebody who has got, like, say, 5 applications that are in the cloud now. You want to make sure that the person who is running or wrote those applications is also part of this team. And then finally, IT support team or the help desk team or the desktop support team or whatever you call it, they need to be part of this too. They need to be trained how to troubleshoot problems with any of your applications that are facing data problems or anything at all. And they should be able to say, you know what, I think this is slow because today the data center from Missouri is slightly slow. It has got nothing to do with the database. Okay. And then if it still persists, then yes, you can involve your data team to actually look into this. So, questions so far? Can you just check? Okay, good. Minimize this. Cool. So hiring and training for CDM, right? So how do you go about hiring people for this? So the first thing, and I have really nothing over here at all in this slide. The reason why it is, it's an open field, right? You really need to involve your HR, involve your data team, and definitely involve your end user team. Make sure the 3 people are going head to head in determining the requirements of the people who will be joining the CDM team, not as a project team, but for overall long-term success of the project or the initiative. Make sure you hire people who are adaptive, people who are knowledgeable. Yes, they are expensive, but then there is nothing more pristine and more important to your organization than the data. Definitely make sure that you hire the right people. But just hiring the right people and then not following it up with proper training is also a big fallacy, and you will fail if you do not provide them with consistent and ongoing training opportunities like this one. If your company let you come and attend this during the business hours, hats off to them, right? So say thank you to them that, you know, these are the few things we learned, and I wish that everybody else could have joined me today. Of course, there are so many other opportunities that are available for us. But mind you, for a not very deeply vested IT professional. The true training is the one which is available only at the company expense and at company time. You don't want that to happen. So if you are into, if you get, okay, why don't you go to SQL Saturday? Oh, yeah, go to a SQL Saturday for this company? No way. I'd rather be out golfing. These are the people who are not vested enough, and these are the people who will actually bring you down. So when you hire people, one of the questions you want to ask them is, how do you keep in touch with the new technology? How do you keep in touch with experts? What is the last book you read, for example? Ask these questions and make sure that they know that there are multiple types of trainings available, free during company time, free after company time, paid after company time, which could be like tuition reimbursement, and then paid during the company time. Now, paid during the company time mostly happens maybe once in 2 or 3 years. So watch out for that. And everything else is just a piece of cake. Okay. Sorry, guys, little cough. Best practices. Okay. Start with the plan. Number one, most important. Okay. Unless you have a plan, treat it like a project. Do not venture into this without a proper project plan. For those who have ever worked with any project, you will know the first thing to do is to determine the charter of the project. What are you going to achieve with this one? Because if you don't know what you're going to achieve, what will happen? Scope creep. There'll be one more application that will come in. There'll be another application coming in, right? Remember? But you had the budget of about $1 million. Now suddenly you have work which is worth about $3 million, and now you're not able to fulfill those promises, and you're ending up pissing off some of the big political players within the organization. So start with the plan, stick to the plan. If somebody says, you know what, I want you to include this one also for the betterment of this department, say, yeah, it's a great one. You know what, why don't you get this approval? And we will see if we have the resources to do that. Otherwise, we will have to provide for more resources, and that I don't know who's going to pay for it. So start with a plan, pay for it. Don't worry. Don't worry about the scope creep. Okay, in the sense that if there is a scope creep, scream high and loud so that the person who's writing the check will know about it. Maintain clean data. This is the fundamental to everything that you do. So there used to be very popular thing called as the data quality services, right? That Microsoft SQL Server had started, for example. You could do that, create a little algorithm where you can say, okay, if you are looking for New York, you could call it NYC, you could call it NY, you could call it New York, you could just call it Yankee Land, for example, or anything. They are all the same, but the database doesn't know. So you could actually create an algorithm or a process in your data quality services where it will give you a high probability, okay, this NY looks like New York City, and I recommend that you change it to New York City, and so on. So that was like a poor man's master data management plan, but that is not very popular these days, if I can say so, with some bit of fear. Now, master data management, the two major vendors, Microsoft MDS and Informatica has MDM. They're both absolutely pathetic and they suck. So make sure that when you are working on clean data, you have some superb ETL developers. There are a whole bunch of sessions by Andy Leonard, my good friend, who is a Microsoft MVP, and he is called the god of SSIS or integration services. So definitely make sure that when you are having data, it is pristine, it is not duplicate, okay? And that is why it will make your project a success, and the customers, internal or external, will begin to have much better faith or greater faith in your initiative and your data, more importantly. Back up the data regularly. So even when you are in the cloud, yes, there is like Microsoft Azure offers you 3 weeks of automatic backup available for you, but I would still say go ahead and back it up. The other thing that you also want to do along with the backup is go for technologies like copy data virtualization, where if, for example, say you have a 64 gigabyte RAM 16 core VM, which is running your SQL Server in the cloud, and you have a 10 terabyte database over there, and your QA says, you know what, Paresh, I need a copy of this database today. And you're like, what? Where do you want me to attach it? We don't have a server. So something like a copy data virtualization techniques, they can actually take a virtual copy of that database for you and within 5 minutes give you a new copy. So something like that will help you avoid most important thing, that is the multiple footprints. Okay, so what's the multiple footprint? For example, you would have seen that companies that have 100 terabyte databases or 50 terabyte databases, QA doesn't have equal size of database, or development doesn't have equal size of database to run their development cycles on. As a result of which, what happens is that they write a query, and the first day it is implemented in production, it is rolled out because it was not scalable, the performance was pathetic, and so on. So having a full-size database for them is important. Okay, so a QA has his own version of which is 4 years old. Development has something that was 3 months old. UAT has something that was 2 weeks old, and then there is production, and there is a DR, right? So you have 4 or 5 footprints of the same data or almost the same data, and at no point in time can you say, okay, which is a single version of truth. So try to get a single version of truth. If it is, if you don't want to spend on compute power, go into Amazon or AWS, in Azure Marketplace, and find out tools for copy data virtualization. If you could use tools like Rubrik or Delphix or Actifio, a lot of these companies that actually help you copy these data quickly, efficiently, and yes, in the background, they're also backing up the databases for you, so you know. Data governance, right? Most important. This is a classic case that people create. It's just like having your own lovely little Victorian house, and then you don't have anybody who is actually looking after it. So what will happen is that soon it will become a shamble. How will it become shamble? Because some developer is always going to try to get an SA privilege and update data without actually updating the source code or your GitHub or whatever other repositories that you have. No good for you, right? So watch out for that, okay? Make sure that you have data governance in place. You have the right people who are not only looking after the integrity of the database, but also of the security of the database. Security of database in 2 aspects, right? One is that nobody actually steals the data, which is called the data loss, and that you want to avoid that. The second one is corruption of the database. And then in the corruption of the database, you have 2 parts, right? One is the physical corruption, which is now almost completely ruled out, almost, I'm saying. And then there is a soft corruption where somebody actually accidentally deleted something without a proper where clause, and then you are screwed, right? So watch out. So have a good data governance plan in place for your cloud data management to work. Who will be a part of this? Your DBA, your developers, and a manager together can create a very good data governance plan. Use a security person to go with it too. So what do we expect over the next few years, right? As you can see, I just told the whole thing here, that more and more companies will migrate to the cloud, right, as their preferred method of data management. And some of them are already doing it. If not, you know what, they will join. Same thing happened about internet too, right? There are people who still want to pay their bills using checks, right? But soon they will have to kind of succumb to the pressure and go into that. Data is the new oil, correct? So if you're not going to take care of it, you are going to suffer as an organization. If you're still worried about security, and that is why you are stuck in the prem paradigm, you're going to get screwed big time. Most important thing is, this is the last one, I'm just going to read that for you. The projection further emphasizes the need to achieve and maintain an efficient data management structure. You want to make this as a policy of your organization, not as something like a antibiotic where you take it as a one-time solution and then get it over with. No, it has to be a way of your life, right? And that is how your data can actually grow and still be intact and have security that will keep you going over the years. So, Q&A. Anybody have questions, comments, observations? So either I did too well or people are asleep, one of the two. So what is true? Okay, so let me go through this one more time and see what. Thank you everyone for coming and spending your Thursday morning with me, especially given the fact that most of you are mentally not here. You're already traveling somewhere, not quite exotic places because of the COVID, but definitely people are taking some time off today so that they can actually have a nice long weekend. Happy 4th of July, guys. These are the sources that you want to check out. Go to talent.com. They are very good. I think a lot of what I've done is based heavily on this one here. And you will find a lot of that information over here too. Again, my contact information for your quick reference is Paresh Motiwala at Twitter. Please go ahead and tweet about it. LinkedIn is Paresh Motiwala, and definitely let me know where you met me or why you want to connect with me. I would definitely love to stay connected. Okay. And if you are going to the PASS Summit this year in November, use this discount code. You will save $50 more. So instead of $599, it will be $549 for you. And yes, my user group gets $25 every time you register through this discount code. So having said that, I think we are approaching at approximately 11:49, which means we have like 1 more minute to go. And I can answer any questions, or I can I'll give you your 1 minute in your life back and enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Definitely do tweet about it and reach out to me with any suggestions, questions, comments. I would totally love you for doing that. Cool. Thank you.
Paresh, thank you so much. Everybody that attended this session on cloud data management, once again, we thank you. And all of the recordings will be available via YouTube after the session concludes. Thanks so much, everybody. You have a great afternoon.
Cool. Bye, guys.